So coming to our subject matter, for the last 3 days, we've discussed Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj's Mangalacharyan. And my Gurudev has unpacked each word, gone through each part of it. And such profound nectar was actually extracted from there. On Saturday, we even went into the Srimad Bhagavatam and these 4 essential truths, the Gyan, Vigyan, the Jiva, and Pradhan. We discussed that to some degree. So all of these powerful connections is what we're making. Why? To give us the confidence of the authority that we're hearing from. If we have, especially today, in 2025, I didn't say that, I don't think. Today's Monday, the 6th, 2025, January. Where so many things are distorted and the demons are trying to manipulate. They have been manipulating for so long in all kinds of different ways, but now they're turning up the burners, so to speak. So this is the age of the demons. We should expect it. But the devotee, he just sees them as these games that they play, magical, mystical games, as insignificant in comparison to the supreme reality, which is so profound. So we need this authority to reassure us of this sound vibration from these higher personalities, from Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, from our Guru Varga, from my Gurudev, Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj. So we need to have that authority reconfirmed. So we chant their glories, we chant the Mangalacharyan, we chant the Guru Varga, the prayers, etc., reassuring us, giving us this comfort of our higher connection than this Mayic reality or Mayic distorted, illusory reality where we're often caught up in. So now we come to page 9 of this Ramananda Rai Sangvad book. And we're going to go through all of this section carefully, and because we don't want to miss anything, we don't want to miss a drop. And if we take it all in over the next couple of 3 months, then we'll have it for life. We'll have this foundation for life, just like with Jayavadama. We went through very carefully every single page of Jayavadama, 40 chapters. So we've got it there. It's fixed for us to as our foundation for our lives. So the title is Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu meets Ramananda Rai.
Yes. 8.2 Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
This verse is always the invocation verse, practically at the beginning of so many of the chapters throughout the Chaitanya Charitamrita. All glories to Sri Chaitanya Dev, all glories to Nityananda, all glories to Advaita, all glories to the devotees of Sri Gauranga.
8.3 Purvarite Prabhu Age Gamana Karila Jiyada Narsimha Kshetre Katadine Gela.
Sriman Mahaprabhu continued his tour, and everywhere as previously, he converted the people into Vaishnavas and submerged them in the ocean of Prema Bhakti Ras. After a few days, he came to the holy place known as Jiyad Nishringa. So we've already described in the prelude how Mahaprabhu has left Navadvip, taken the renounced order, gone to Shantipur, then traveled through to Puri Dham, and how he's begun his pastimes in Puri Dham, converting the Mayavad Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, and now he's left for his South Indian tour. So this is where we're picking up the pastime. So at this Jiyad Nishringa is the place where he came to first of all. Now it's got a reference here about Jiyad Nishringa Ketra. So some of these commentaries, these purports, are interspersed with the purports from Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada's purports in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. But these ones of Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada are often from Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati. So we're getting quite a few inputs into these purports. Also, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, in his Amrita Prabha, he's adding additions and so on. It's usually Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati who's giving us the directions where all these places were. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati traveled extensively in India, and he went to all these different holy places. So he's encouraging the devotees also to pay their homage to these holy places and giving the directions which train station, etc. we have to come to. So 5 miles from Visakhapatnam is a place called Simachal, where there is now a railway station. There, upon a mountain, is a temple of Lord Nrsingadev. This temple in Visakhapatnam is the most famous and affluent above all others. The excellence of its architecture captures the minds of all. There is one engraved stone plaque commemorating that the devotionally minded wife of King Tritiya Gomkara decorated the deity with gold leaf. There was much more opulence in India at that time before the British ransacked it. The servants of Sri Nrsingadev resided there, along with the local people. On top of the mountain, adjoining the temple, are many houses for the visiting pilgrims. The outer section of the main temple houses the Sri Vijay Vigraha, the smaller deity who is taken out on street processions during festivals, while the inner sanctum of the temple accommodates the original deity of Bhagavan Sri Nrsingadev. Devotees of Sri Ramanuja's Vaishnava Sampradaya perform the worship of Sri Nrsingadev under the patronage of the king of Vijay Naga. Some people also say that the deity of Bhagavan, Sri Nrsingadev, once gave his special mercy to a devotee named Jiyad, and for this reason the deity took the name Jiyad Nrsinga. Thus the place came to be known as Jiyad Nrsinga Ketra. So 8.4.
Nrsimha dekhiya kaila dandavat pranati premaveshe kaila bahu nritya gita stuti.
Taking darshan of Bhagavan Sri Nrsingadev, Sriman Mahaprabhu fully prostrated himself before the deity. Then, absorbed in prem, he sang and danced, and afterwards offered many types of prayers and glorifications of the Lord. So now there's an interesting point that my Gurudev brings up here. Here, some people may consider that because Sri Gaurasundar is Brajendranandan Sri Krishna, endowed with the mood and complexion of Srimati Radhika, Radha Bhav Dudi Suvalitam, Sri Krishna Swarup, surely he will hold only the ecstatic mood of Srimati Radhika, tasting exclusive prem for Sri Krishna in Braj. That is the mood of Radhika, tasting the bliss of Krishna in Braj. Why then does he become absorbed in prem by having the darshan of Sri Nrsingadev, who is in the mood of awe and majesty? So this is a beautiful point. Our Goswamis provide the answer. They state that Sri Krishna is the quintessence of all the incarnations of Bhagavan, the Supreme Person. He is the personification of all transcendental mellows, Akila Rasamrita Murti, the shelter of unlimited varieties of rasa, and the personification of wonderful, extraordinary transcendental sentiments. Only by tasting each of the unique varieties of rasa does the taste of Sri Krishna's sweetness reach its fullest. This is the answer. Sri Nrsingadev is also a form of Bhagavan. Thus, there is a particular variety of ras, or flavor, in him. All the avatars, they all have their particular rasas. But we see, like the moon has 16 different stages, they're all Brajendranandan Sham Sundar, but they're all demonstrating different flavors, different rasas, like Ram is Purushottam Maryad. Varahadev, he represents Vibhats. In Gita Govinda, Jaydev Goswami, in the very beginning, he goes through all the Dashavatars and he describes the rasas of each of those personalities. So Nrsimhadev is described as Vatsalya Ras, that mood because of his affection for Sri Prahlad. Thus, there is a particular variety of rasa or flavor in him. Therefore, on the day when Sriman Mahaprabhu had darshan of Sri Nrsimhadev, his heart developed a desire to taste that special flavor. Why not? Mahaprabhu is Krishna himself, and he wanted to taste the special flavor of himself through the personality that was there in the deity form of Nrsimhadev. Upon that desire being completely satisfied, he became absorbed in prema and began to dance and perform kirtan. There's one commentator in the Shastra, he describes how one Brahman in Navadvip, he writes that he was one day experiencing this beautiful fragrance that was seeming to become every time just before 7 o'clock. He would experience this intoxicating spiritual fragrance, and he was wondering what it was. He was in Mayapur Dham, and he was wondering what this fragrance was, and he was hearing daily, smelling daily this fragrance, and then it was revealed to him in a vision, in like a dream, that Nrsimhadev from Nrsimhapalli was rushing to the Gora Arti, and as he came past, his fragrance touched this Brahman. So he writes like that. So there are so many beautiful points about the Nrsimhadev in Goradam also, because in the beginning of Jaiva Dhamma, we have the pastime where Pradumna, the guru of Prem Das Babaji, visits, and he's described, he's reading Prema Vivart, a most esoteric, beautiful compilation, and a very deep, profound compilation of Rasa Tattva. And his place is in Nrsimhapalli. So I asked my Gurudev, why would he stay in a place like Nrsimhapalli? Why would this elevated Vaishnava deep in Ras stay in Nrsimhapalli? My Gurudev said, because Nrsimhadev, just like other personalities, will take away any scent of an obstacle in the devotee's bhajan. If the devotee is experiencing any impediment or obstacle, then Lord Nrsimhadev, he is happy to perform that seva and remove that obstacle if the devotee is calling out for him. So those are just a couple of examples about Nrsimhadev. So now we have the next.
Point 5. Sri Narsimha, Jai Jai Narsimha, Prahladisha, Jaya Padma, Mukha Padma, Bringa.
All glories to Bhagavan Sri Nrsimhadev. All glories to the Lord of Sri Prahlad. All glories to you, who are like a bumblebee, always hovering about the lotus face of Sri Lakshmi Devi. All glories to you. Very beautiful. Sridhar Swami has composed the following 2 verses in his commentary on Srimad Bhagavatam 111 and 1087.1 as a means of offering his obeisances to Lord Nrsimhadev.
Prahlada Hridyaladam Bhakta Vidya Vidaranam Sharadindu Ruchim Vande Parinda Vadanam Harim Vagisha Yasya Vadane Lakshmiryasya Cha Vakshasi Yashyaste Hridaya Samvit Tam Narasimham Bhaje. I
offer my prayers to Lord Nrsimhadev, who always gives happiness to the heart of his devotee Sri Prahlad, who always dispels the ignorance of his devotees, and who is endowed with a complexion as effulgent as the autumnal full moon. I offer my prayers to that Bhagavan Sri Nrsimha, upon whose tongue Saraswati, the goddess of speech, eternally stays, upon whose chest Lakshmi always resides, and in whose heart dwells the transcendental potency of spiritual consciousness. So how can we ever disregard the beauty and speciality and potent? Actually, our Srila Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, he really instilled in the Western world the devotees taking shelter of Lord Nrsimhadev every day in our Mangal Arti prayers. We always include the prayers of Lord Nrsimhadev because the Western world is loaded with demons. While describing the speciality of the mercy of Sri Bhagavan, Sriman Mahaprabhu glorifies Sri Nrsimhadev through the following verse, personally composed by Sridhar Swami in his commentary on Srimad Bhagavatam 791.
8.6 Ugropi anugra evayam swabhaktanam nrkesari keshariva swapotanam anyesham ugra vikramaha.
Just as a lion is exceedingly cruel, powerful, and a cause of great fear for others, yet is very affectionate and merciful to his own cubs, Bhagavan Sri Nrsimhadev is exceedingly ferocious towards demons like Hiranyakashipu, yet he is always full of affection for Prahlad and his devotees.
8.7 Emata nana shloka padi stuti kaila narasimha sevak mala prasada anidila.
In this way, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu recited many different verses in glorification of Bhagavan Sri Nrsimha. Seeing Sriman Mahaprabhu's devotional sentiments, Lord Nrsimhadev's servant then brought garlands and the remnants of the Lord's food and offered them to him.
8.8 Purvavat kona vipre kaila nimantarana sheratri taharahi karila gamana.
As happened before, a Brahmana came with an invitation for Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. The Lord passed the night there, and early the next morning he again commenced his tour.
8.9 Prabhate utiya prabhu chalila prema veshe digvidrik nahi jnana ratri divase.
The next morning, Sriman Mahaprabhu rose and being absorbed in prema, started out again on his tour. Owing to his great ecstasy, he had no knowledge of the proper direction or whether it was day or night.
8.10 Purvavat Vaishnava Kari Sarva Lokagane Godavari Tire Prabhu Aila Katadine.
As before, Sri Chaitanya Dev converted all the jivas there to Vaishnavism, and after some days the Lord reached the banks of the Godavari. So imagine Mahaprabhu, such a tall, incredibly beautiful, effulgent figure, walking with his arms raised, chanting the Mahamantra, chanting Hari Harai Nama Krishna, etc., and just spellbinding all the residents as he walked through. And they all became Vaishnavas by worshipping this golden effulgent form of the Lord.
8.11 Godavari deki haila yamuna smaran tira vana deki smriti haila vrindavan.
As soon as Sriman Mahaprabhu caught sight of the river Godavari, he remembered the river Sri Jamuna, a vision of which manifested in his heart. Thus absorbed, when he saw the forest on the bank of the Godavari, Sri Vrindavan appeared upon the screen of his heart. He understood the Godavari to be the Jamuna, and the forest there to be Vrindavan. So there's a beautiful purport here. The symptom of a Mahabhagavat, the devotee of the highest platform of devotional service, is that wherever he goes and whatever he sees becomes udipan, stimulants or causes of remembrance of his worshipable Lord and all that is related to him. Seeing the purifying holy water of the Godavari caused Srimad Mahaprabhu's mind, within Srimad Mahaprabhu's mind, an awakening of the water-associated pastimes of Braj. He remembered especially the emperor of all Braj's pastimes, the Ras Leela, because it occurred in Sridham Vrindavan, on the banks of the river Jamuna. Therefore, he became immersed in the fathomless ocean of Braj's sweetness. Very beautiful.
8.12 Sevane katakshana kari nritya gana Godavari parahana taha kailasnana.
Mahaprabhu remained for some time in that sanctified forest, singing and dancing. Afterwards, the Lord crossed the river and took his bath on the other bank.
8.13 Ghatachadi kata dure jala sannidhane Vashi Prabhu kare Krishna nama sankirtane.
After bathing in the river, Sri Chaitanya Dev left the bathing place and walked a little distance from there. Sitting near the water, he engaged in chanting the holy name of Krishna. Here some may inquire as to why Mahaprabhu did not remain seated at that holy bathing place to perform Nam Sankirtan. Why did he move a little distance away from the same shore? Our Goswamis have explained that the continuous traffic of persons bathing at the Ghat or bathing place could have presented an obstacle to his tasting the nectar of chanting the holy name. Therefore, Mahaprabhu chose a place that was more suitable for kirtan.
8.14 Hena kale dolaya chadi Ramananda Rai Snana karibare aila bhajana bajai.
At that time, Sri Ramananda Rai, sitting in a special palanquin fit for a king, arrived there to take his bath. Accompanying him were musicians playing on their instruments. Why were they playing music? Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explains that it was customary at the time to have musicians preceding any famous royal officer on his journeys. Thus, Sri Ramananda Rai, seated in a palanquin and accompanied by instrumental music, was offered the appropriate royal respect as he travelled towards the bathing place where Mahaprabhu sat. And we can appreciate now this culture of Bharatvash, the culture of India, where today even practically most of the people honor the government or honor any government official, any government worker. It's quite contrasting to the Western world where the authorities have become, people don't believe in them anymore. But in India, it's not like that. It's because they have such a history of dharmic personalities ruling the country, like Yudhisthira Maharaj, these Raja Rishis and the sages prior to that. So all the way through, they've had this deep respect for the authority, for the government, so to speak. So we see this witnessed in the honoring of Rai Ramananda.
8.15 Tar sange bahuaila vaidika brahmana vidhi mate kailate ho snana di tarpana.
Many Vedic Brahmanas were accompanying Sri Ramananda Rai, who took his bath according to the Vedic rituals and offered oblations. In this Bengali verse, the word vidimata, meaning according to the Vedic system, does not indicate the smarta method of ritualistic worship, which is based simply on an external understanding of the system of Varnashram Dham. Rather, it is understood that Sri Ramananda Rai performed his bathing and offering of oblations to his ancestors according to the Vaishnava methods prescribed in literatures such as Sri Hari Bhakti Vilas. Some so-called intelligent and learned persons say that Sri Ramananda Rai was personally well versed in the Vedas, and that although he was a pure devotee, he still followed Varnashram Dham with complete faith. Indeed, he himself was the foundation of the Varnashram system. Therefore, he performed the activities of taking bath and offering oblations to his forefathers according to the injunctions of the scripture. Yet the great and learned spiritual master, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, has refuted this by saying that Sri Ramananda Rai was a Shuddha Bhakta and that there was no need at all for such a pure devotee to follow the rules of Varnashram Dham. The term Shuddha Bhakta actually means that such a person has abandoned Varnashram Dham and follows only devotional service to Sri Krishna Bhakti. It is for this reason that Sri Ramananda Rai is said to be the topmost of all devotees. From this, it is clearly evident that Sri Ramananda Rai was not at all a follower of Varnashram Dham. So that's a very interesting comment that my Gurudev makes and brings in the remarks of Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. Do not think that Ramananda Roy was some type of smarta, that he was falling into the Varnashram, but he was actually honoring devotion to Krishna Bhakti. So this is clarifying the nature and personality of Ramananda Roy.
8.16 Prabhu tare deki janila e Ram Rai tahare milite Prabhur mana uti dhaya.
When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu saw Sri Ramananda Rai, he knew immediately who he was, and a great eagerness to meet him awoke within the Lord's mind.
8.17 Tatapi dhairyadari Prabhu rahila vashiya Ramananda aila apurva sannyasi dekiya.
Although Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was very eager to meet him, he remained sitting patiently, because Mahaprabhu could recognize this is the governor of this state where I have come, this Andhra Pradesh, we call it today. So he was understanding that this is the governor, and this was the person that he'd come to meet. At the same time, through his omnisciency, he could appreciate that this is none other than the Saki Vishaka. All these things would have been there in the consciousness of Mahaprabhu, so he could recognize him immediately. Sri Ramananda Roy, a little distance away from the bathing ghat, saw the astonishing and wonderfully beautiful sannyasi and came near. So Ramananda Roy is also such a pure consciousness, such a pure caliber. So he also can recognize immediately the extraordinary, astonishing personality of Mahaprabhu.
8.18 Surya Shata Samakanti Aruna Vasana Suvalita Prakanda Deha Kamala Lochana.
The bodily effulgence of that sannyasi was as brilliant as unlimited suns. A saffron garment was covering the Lord, who was large in body and very strongly built, and whose eyes were like lotuses stretching to his ears. It should be known that even though his bodily effulgence was more brilliant than millions of suns, he did not give any pain to the eyes. Rather, it bestowed great ecstasy.
8.19 Dekiya tahara mane haila chamatkara Ashiya karila dandavat namaskara.
The sight of the astonishing sannyasi struck the heart of Sri Ramananda Roy with wonder. He approached him and respectfully prostrated himself, falling flat like a stick before him. Sri Ramananda Roy was astonished to see the extraordinary beauty of the Lord and his great otherworldly effulgence. Because he was a pure devotee, he fell flat like a stick at the divine feet of the Lord.
8.20 Uti Prabhu kahe uta kaha Krishna Krishna Tare alingite Prabhu hridaya satrishna.
Sriman Mahaprabhu, seeing him offering obeisances, stood up and said, please get up, chant Krishna, Krishna. Indeed, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was very eager to embrace him.
8.21 Tatapi puchila tumi Raya Ramananda teho kahe hana mui dasa sudra manda.
Although Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu understood who he was, still he inquired, are you Ramananda Rai Ramananda? To this he replied with great humility, yes, this unfortunate Shudra is your servant.
8.22 तबे तारे कैला प्रभु दृढ़ आलिंगना प्रेमा वेशे प्रभु भृत्या दोहे अचेतना.
Hearing this, Sriman Mahaprabhu then embraced Sri Ramananda Roy very firmly. Indeed, both the master and servant, absorbed in ecstatic love, lost consciousness.
8.23 स्वाभाविका प्रेम दोहा उदय करिला दुहा के आलिंग्या दुहे भूमि ते पडिला.
Natural love for each other awakened in both their hearts, and in their embrace they fell down to the ground, unconscious. Sri Satchidananda Bhaktivinoda Thakur's Amrita Prava Bhasya, it is stated that the praying between them was natural. Actually, Sri Ramananda Rai is Vishaka Sakhi in Sri Krishna's pastimes. Therefore, as Sriman Mahaprabhu, as the combined form of Sri Radha and Sri Krishna, the natural love of the divine couple for Vishaka Sakhi and the love of Vishaka Sakhi for them manifested immediately upon their seeing each other. How beautiful. Perfect, naturally occurring prem is not achievable by spiritual practice, sadhana. The relationship between the devotee and Bhagavan is something like this. When the devotee sees his worshipful Lord, unlimited towering waves of prem arise within his heart. And when Bhagavan sees his devotee, then his Bhakta Vatsal, or fathomless ocean of affection for the devotee, churns within his heart. Thus both of them become bewildered. So this was the commentary of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur.
8.24 Stamba Sweda Shrukampa Pulaka Vaivarnya Duhara Mukete Shuni Gadgada Krishna Varna.
When they embraced each other, the 8 ecstatic transformations, such as becoming stunned, perspiration, tears, shivering, paleness, and horripilation, appeared on their bodies. Their voices became choked, and both began to chant, Krishna, Krishna. So these are Anubhavs and Sattvika appearing immediately on their body, confirming with us today who are studying the aspects of Rasa Tattva, the ecstasy, the depth of the ecstasy that they both experienced. They both tried to conceal their natural, eternally perfect love for each other, but they could not. Both became helpless due to the towering waves of prem, and their throats became choked.
8.25 Dekiya Brahmana Ganera Haila Chamatkar Vaidika Brahmana Sabha Karena Vichar.
When the ritualistic Vedic Brahmanas who accompanied Sri Ramananda Rai saw this astonishing meeting, they were wonderstruck. They reflected within their minds.
8.26 Eta Sanyasira Tej Deki Brahmana Sama Brahma Sama Shudre Alingiya Kene Karena Krandana. Ye Maharaja Mahapandita Gambira Sanyasira Sparshe Matta Haila Astira.
The effulgence of this sannyasi is like the Brahman itself. But despite this, he is crying upon embracing this Sudra, Sri Ramananda Rai. Why is this? The Vedic Brahmins considered Sri Ramananda Rai to be a supremely learned personality, naturally very grave. So why did he become so excited, like a mad person, on touching this sannyasi? So by reading this carefully, by absorbing the direct description that's given by Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj, supported by Bhaktivinoda Thakur, supported by my Gurudev, supported by all the acharyas, Krishnacharya Vajrayago, we're getting a deep insight into the pastime that's unfolding. The Vedic Brahmanas were considering Sri Ramananda Rai to be a Shudra, a member of the lower social class. The scriptures forbid sannyasis to touch members of the Sudra community. This sannyasi, who is certainly very effulgent, the Brahmanas reflected, is not only touching Sri Ramananda Rai, but he is binding him up in his tight embrace. How can this be? Sri Ramananda Roy had indeed described himself as a Sudra when he offered obeisances. In the district of Vidyanagar, he was the royal representative of King Prataparudra and had experienced all the enjoyment befitting a ruler. Due to performing service to a king, his nature and activities should have been inclined towards irreligion. His dress and ornaments were that of a servant of the king. Therefore, it was not proper for a sannyasi to touch him at all. So Mahaprabhu himself demonstrates in his refusal to give darshan to Prataparudra later on for a long period of time. He doesn't give him his darshan because someone, even if they're a great devotee, but if they're contaminated in the atmosphere of being like a lord or a king, then this is most contaminating for a sannyasi who is serious about his path out of this material world. Any contact with someone of that nature, Mahaprabhu himself describes as like poison. So he refused to see Prataparudra for a long time. In fact, Sri Ramananda Roy's familial connection was with the Kshatriya, or administrative class of persons. Furthermore, he was a great Shuddha Bhakta, a pure devotee. By declaring himself a Sudra, he manifested the mood of Trinadapi, Sunichena, regarding himself lower in status than the straw in the street. Sri Ramananda Roy was a Parama Bhagavat, or a devotee of the topmost caliber, and a complete knower of Bhakti Tattva. Because the Vedic Brahmanas did not know the factual identity of Mahaprabhu, they took him for a mere sannyasi. They also considered Sri Ramananda Roy to be a supremely learned personality, naturally very grave. Why then did he become so restless, like a mad person, upon touching this sannyasi? This was the cause of the Vedic Brahmanas' astonishment. So we're like right at the scene, so to speak. These descriptions are really opening out these moods. The Vedic Brahmanas had no idea of the identities of either of these two personalities. But we are blessed by these insights by Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj and Raghunath Das, of course, to give us this amazing pastime.
8.28 E mata vipragana bhave mane mana vijatiya lokadeki prabhu kaila samvarna.
Sriman Mahaprabhu is Antaryami, or the indwelling supersoul, and supreme witness in the heart of all. Knowing that the Brahmana's sentiments were opposed to pure devotion, he concealed his emotions. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada says that these Brahmanas were opposed to Sriman Mahaprabhu, whereas Sri Ramananda Roy was indeed most favorably disposed to him, and was in fact a most surrendered and intimate devotee. Despite being in close proximity to a pure devotee, these Brahmanas maintained their faith in the materialistic process of performing action with a desire for the fruits, karmakand. For precisely this reason, those Brahmanas are said to be non-devotees and opposing elements. This desire reminds us of the yagya patnis, when their husbands were performing yagya and they didn't want to acknowledge the cowherd boys. What were those Brahmanas performing their yagya for? They wanted to go to Swaga. They had their faith in this material planetary, this higher planetary system. They weren't transcendental at all. So these Brahmanas are of the same mentality, kamakandis. It is proper for devotees to conceal loving exchanges in front of those who are not inclined to serving Bhagavan and who are fixed in following the materialistic path of karma. So Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, he's always ready to give us the rules and regulations to give us a peaceful life for the devotees. When the devotees understand it's not correct to demonstrate high devotional sentiments in front of people who are not devotees. It will just bring criticism onto the devotees out of their envy.
8.29 Shustahana duhe se stane te vashila tabe hasi Mahaprabhu kahite lagila.
Concealing their emotions and regaining their external consciousness, they again became sober and sat down together. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu then smiled. It is never possible to obstruct the joyful bliss of the devotees, and began to speak.
8.30 Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya kahila tomara gune tomara milite more karila yatane.
O Rai, before I came here, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya greatly extolled your good qualities and insisted on my meeting you.
8.31 Toma mili bhare mora yeta agamana bhala haila anayase pailun darshana.
Indeed, I have come here only to meet you. It is very good that with great ease I have gotten your audience.
8.32 Raya kahe sarvabhauma kare bhritya jnana paroksheha morahite haya savadhana.
Sri Rai Ramananda replied, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya directly accepts me as his servant and indirectly always acts for my welfare.
8.33 Tara kripaya painu tomara darshana aji safala haila mora manushya janama.
Only by his mercy I have received darshan of your lotus feet today. By virtue of this, I now consider that my human birth has become successful. So we understand Ramananda Rai would have appreciated that Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya was a complete impersonalist. He was a Mayavad, and yet still he's speaking very respectfully about him. This is his great character, that the Mahabhagavats, they don't condemn anybody. They don't have any feelings of animosity towards anybody. So human birth is extremely rare. Only by the special mercy of Bhagavan can one attain a human form of life. It is impossible to perform bhajan, devotional service to Bhagavan, in any other species. It is not even possible as a demigod. So sometimes the devotees become confused a little. They think that the devas, because of their immense power and potency in their controlling abilities of this material atmosphere, can actually offer them some shelter or some security. And they take shelter of these different higher realmed personalities. But they cannot, none of them can give bhakti. The demigod planets are described as bhoga yoni, the species of enjoyment. Bhoga. Bhoga means enjoyment. It's not offered. Bhoga. Bhoga yoni. Yoni means species. The persons, the conditioned souls here in this earthly realm are called karma yonis. We are fulfilling our karma and we're creating our karma. And those in the lower realms are called papa yoni. Yoni means species again, so they are the sinful species. So you cannot, with the bhoga yoni, get bhakti by any amount of worship. The human body is itself the very root of bhajan. This is very encouraging for the conditioned souls in Kali Yuga to hear this. Only by this human body is it possible to hear topics of Lord Hari in the association of saintly persons, sadhu sangha. Take shelter at the feet of a bona fide spiritual master. Perform the limbs of devotional service. Become free from unwanted habits and develop through the stages of nishta, constant engagement, ruchi, taste, asakti, attachment, etc. Srimad Bhagavatam states,
Okay. Hrideham adyam sulabam sudurlabam plavam sukalpam guru karnadharam mayanukulena nabasva terisatam puman bhavabdim nataret sa atmaha.
It is said that the human form of life is the basis of all auspiciousness. It is a good boat by which one can cross the ocean of birth and death. So we have to be reminded repeatedly of this. Sometimes in the darkness of this age, the devotees can become despondent. They become disturbed, or they've given serious attention to the demons' tricks and games, etc., and to the various conditions, difficult material conditions that have been created, and they start to lose hope. My Gurudev used to say all the time, don't be hopeless. Don't be hopeless. He understood the darkness of this age can make like this. But when we appreciate sentiments like this, like we're describing, that this human birth is like a boat and can carry us across this ocean of birth and death. No other birth can. Not in the lower regions or in the higher regions. Only in this human life can we attain this highest wealth through the mercy of Mahaprabhu. In the human form of life, one may obtain the guidance of a good navigator, the spiritual master. One also gets the assistance of a favorable wind, the instructions and the mercy of Krishna as given in the scriptures. If, however, one does not take advantage of this opportunity and waste the human form of life, then he is a killer of his own self, his own pure self, his jivatma. He's killing his jivatma. So the devotee feels great sympathy for those who are not engaging in devotional service, that they all are like killers of themselves, drinking this intoxicating material glitter, illusory happiness they think they're experiencing. The devotee feels the tragedy in their lives at their inability to actually take advantage of this human birth. Okay.
Is according.
Oh, didn't I finish it? Sorry. It is according to this reasoning that Sri Ramananda Roy now considered his human form of life successful, having attained the darshan of the lotus feet of Sriman Mahaprabhu. We can attain the darshan of Mahaprabhu simply by regularly chanting Hare Krishna in a serious mood and taking profound shelter of Guru. Without Guru, nothing can transpire. So if we take deep shelter today and every day of Sri Guru, then that security in this darkness will manifest in the heart of the devotee.
8.34 Sarvabhaume tumhara kripa tar echiha asprishya sparshilehan tar premadina.
Sri Ramananda Roy continued, I can see that you have bestowed great mercy upon Sri Sarvabhauma. The proof of this is that being controlled by his love, you have touched me, although I am an untouchable. I think this really shows up the character of Ramananda Roy, his humility, his profound humility. Without this humility, prem can never be attained. As the prem increases, natural humility will increase. In contrast to the conditioned soul, his pride will increase, or his envy will increase his pride. But the devotee's devotion will increase his humility, therefore his prem will be increased. So these two are synonymous. This prem and humility we discussed before. Okay.
8.35 Kaha tumi sakshas Ishvara Narayana Kaha mui Rajasevak Vishayi Shudra Dhama.
Who are you? You are the supreme controller Narayan himself. And who am I? I am a materialistic enjoying royal opulences, a most fallen Sudra, engaged in enjoying the objects of the senses.
8.36 Mora sparshe na karile griha veda bhaya Mora darshana toma vede nishedaya.
The Vedic injunctions have forbidden you to even look at me. However, you have not considered these prohibitions, and you do not feel contemptuous by my touch. Indeed, it is forbidden for sannyasis like you to even see persons such as myself. Srila Prabhupada Siddhanta Thakur says that in this verse, Srila Ramananda Rai sees himself as a most fallen, materialistic Shudra. It is true that he did not take birth in a family of Brahmanas. Rather, he was a transcendental Brahmana initiated according to the Aikanaya branch of the Vedic tree. So I should read the footnote here just to illuminate us. Ekayana means one path, eka, or exclusive devotion. On December the 30th, 1928, the great scholar Paramanat Tarak Abushan came to the Gaudiya Math and heard an extensive explanation of the Daivi Varnashram system from Srila Saraswati Thakur. In January 1929, Srila Saraswati Thakur established the Ekayan Gaudiya Math in Krishnanagar. At the opening ceremony, he gave a lecture with an original explanation on the single path of exclusive devotion, Ekayana, showing that it is the trunk of the Vedic tree and the various other paths, Bahuvyana, and its branches, taken from associates of Sri Chaitanya. And this is from the volume 2 of Sripad Bhakti Ballabh Tirtha Maharaj. So we're most fortunate to hear all these different personalities amongst the writings of Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj. Srila Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur is inspired, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur is inspired, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati is inspired. All of these persons are reading carefully these literatures and giving us some jeweled insights and visions. So tomorrow we'll continue with reading through these first verses, and we'll reach the more specific questions and answers shortly. We'll have perhaps one more day reading through there, and then we'll come to the chapter on Varnashram itself, Varnashram Dharma. So Rai Ramananda Sangvad Ki Jai. So it's very wonderful how we're having a gradual approach here. We're not rushing into it. We're taking a meditative. We've discussed the whole of Krishnadas Kaviraj's Mangalacharya. And now my Gurudev is going carefully through each verse. And it's very, very revealing. It's creating a wonderful atmosphere of the scene and the pastime where we're sitting with Mahaprabhu and Ramananda Rai. We'll be sitting with them, hearing their discussion, hearing their debate. So this is giving us an atmosphere. So very wonderful. Ramananda Rai ki jai. Sachinandana Gaura Hari ki jai. Go Premanande Hari Hari Bol. So we'll continue our reading where we left off yesterday. So we're just beginning this Rai Ramananda Sangvad, and I'm very happy that we're reading all of the verses, because as we said yesterday, the atmosphere that is created by Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj under the tutelage of Sri Raghunath Das and Swarup Damodar, they lend authority to the subject matter. Just the whole description of where Mahaprabhu has just previously come from, the Shringadev temple, and then the description of their meeting, their embracing, etc., and the smarta Brahmins following along and witnessing this very wonderful embrace that Mahaprabhu is giving to Ramananda Rai, and then their conversation in between. It all lends itself to a support for the authority and speciality of the subject matter. So I'm very happy that we're reading all this through. So we're on page 24 today of this book, Ramananda Rai. Text 37 is where we came to yesterday. Bilva?
Das.
24.
Yes.
Tomara Kripaya.
I think, have you read that initial? Das.
The commentary before that?
Yeah.
Here? I can read it again.
Yes.
Thus, he was a pure Mahabhagavat, a liberated devotee of the highest order, devoid of any material desires. We're talking about Ramananda Rai here. The high-born Vedic Brahmanas had been initiated into the performance of all varieties of yagyas after studying thousands of branches of the Vedas. Considering Sri Ramananda Rai to be a Sudra, they thus guaranteed themselves entry to the hellish regions. As it is confirmed in the Padma Purana, Viksheti Jati Samanyat Sa Yati Narakam Dhruvam. A person rushes to hell when he considers a devotee of the Lord to belong to a particular caste in terms of birth. So Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada is always commenting on verses like this because he was preaching to the lowest of humanity, those born outside the Varnashram system, outside Bharatvash, and with really basically no civilization to rest upon. The Malechas and Yavanas cult in the West, we can say. So Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada is always making shastric statements to support that anybody from any standard of life can come to this highest perfection of life if, Prabhupada uses the word earnest, if he becomes sincerely earnest, whether he's a Shudra, a Kshatriya, a Vaishya, a woman, a laborer, any walk in life whatsoever, can attain this highest estimation if he becomes sincerely earnest, is the wording that he uses. Whosoever is desirous of factual spiritual attainment and genuine auspiciousness should become the servant of Sri Ramananda Rai. Ramananda Rai, of course, is a Ragatmika Bhakta. He's Vishaka. He's a Ragatmika Gan. So we are in the line following the Ragatmikas, where Raga Anugas following them. Okay.
837. Tomara krupaya tomai karaya nindya karma sakshat Ishvara tumi ke jane tomara marma.
Your mercy alone makes you perform this condemnable act. This condemned act is embracing a lower caste man. You are directly the Supreme Controller himself. However, you are controlled by bhakti. Who can understand your true purpose? We should also appreciate the dynamic here is one of their words are in a mood of Aishwarya. Ramananda Rai is considering Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to be that supreme person, that Lord Narayan. Yesterday we just touched briefly on the subject of Puri Dham being Aishwarya Dham. We shouldn't become confused about what is Aishwarya and what is Madhurya. This is all depending on the mood of Sri Krishna, or in this case, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself. For example, Navadvip Dham is Madhurya Dham. Mahaprabhu Nimai Pandit. He has Lokik Sambandha. He has familial relationships with the people of Navadvip, with the milkman, with the tailor, with the perfume seller, with the flower garland maker, etc. He has congenial relationships with them, just like Krishna had very congenial relationships in Vrindavan. This is Madhurya. And he's not seen as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, whereas in Puri, practically the entire time, he's seen as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, even though he's trying to cover his true identity. When he squirts tears from his eyes, everyone is thinking this must be the Lord. When he pushes the Ratha Yatra cart with his head, when even elephants and a whole army can't pull it, Mahaprabhu just pushes it with his head. This is an act of Aishwarya. When Mahaprabhu exhibits these forms as a tortoise, etc., this is all Aishwarya exhibitions. So don't be in any doubt whatsoever that this Puri Dham is Aishwarya Dham. They even have 4 arms, it's described in the Shastra, the residents of Puri Dham. So everyone is seeing Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Advaitaracharya, he saw the universal form. Nityananda, of course, knows his true identity. Gadadhar knows his identity. Everyone is witnessing the Lord. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya composes so many verses proclaiming the Mahaprabhu to be the Supreme Lord. So this is so different in contrast. Whereas in Navadvip, Jagannath Mishra, his father, will chase him with a stick, will want to chastise him and punish him. This is not seeing any type of Aishwarya at all. Mother Sachi is fully in a mood of Madhurya. So we have to very, very distinctly know the difference between Madhurya Dham and Navadvip and Aishwarya Dham and Puri Dham. So now we're in the Godavari. And again, Ramananda Roy, he's saying here, you are directly the Supreme Controller himself. He's seeing with that vision. Srila Prabhupada says that it is improper for sannyasis to see materialistic persons or to associate with Shudras, but being controlled by his own mercy, Mahaprabhu did not consider Sri Ramananda's position as a Shudra. Thus he performed the despicable act of touching him. Being controlled by prem, Bhagavan has indeed performed dishonorable acts repeatedly, such as becoming the chariot driver of Arjun, eating the remnant fruits of the low-born woman, Shabari, and associating with the hunchback, Kubja.
838. Amanishcharite tomar hiha agmana paramaдаyalu tumi patita pavana.
This low-born woman, Shabari, is the woman that Ramchandra, when he was in the forest with Lakshman, she had been waiting for him. She'd heard a prophecy that she'd see him. So she was collecting fruits every day, but she wanted to make sure the fruits were really sweet and ripe, so she would taste them first. And then she offered these fruits to Lord Ram, who actually took them with relish, understanding her bhav, her mood of deep, deep attraction to Ram. So that is Shabari that was mentioned just then. You have come here only to deliver me. You are the ultimate storehouse of mercy, and you purify the fallen souls.
839. Mahanta swabhava e tarite pamara nija karya nahi tabu yanatar gara.
By your own magnanimous nature, you always deliver the fallen and sinful souls. You have no personal business of your own, nor do you seek self-profit. Still, for the benefit of the living entities, you travel from house to house. The purpose of your life is only to deliver the fallen souls. This is Mahaprabhu embracing the sannyas ashram and is doing exactly this.
840. Mahad vichalanam nrinam grihinam dina chetasam nishreyasya bhagavan nanyata kalpate kvachit.
This is Srimad Bhagavatam 10.8.4. My dear Lord, sometimes great souls go to the homes of householders. This is Nanda Baba is speaking to Gagaracharya, who are generally fallen and deprived of the association of saintly persons. They do this simply for the eternal good fortune of such family persons, because often those family persons are so immersed in material affairs that they are unable even to visit the ashrams or retreats of the sadhus. Therefore, can there be any reason that you have visited me other than my own auspiciousness? So this is Nanda Baba speaking to Gagaracharya in the 10th canto. Nanda Maharaj spoke this verse on the occasion of Sri Gagaracharya's visit to his house in Nandagal at the behest of Sri Vasudeva. In this verse, the two words, Grinam, attached householders, and Dina Chestasam, who are very lowly, being engaged in family maintenance and nothing more, indicate Sri Nanda Maharaj's humility. By the influence of bhakti, Sri Nanda Maharaj considered himself to be less less significant than the straw in the street. So by the influence of bhakti, this humility is naturally going to manifest. Such saints do not even bestow their mercy upon the demigods, but upon householders like us. They rain a profusion of mercy, offering us protection. They are our factual maintainers. Commenting on the word Mahat in this verse, Sri Sanatana Goswami says, Mahatam Sri Bhagavat Sevaikanishtanam. The term is used to refer only to one who is absorbed in the service of Bhagavan. Does this indicate that Sriman Mahaprabhu is also a great devotee engaged in the service of Bhagavan? No, he is directly the source of all incarnations, avatari. He is directly Narayan himself, but in a covered form.
841. Amar Sange Brahmanandi Sahasreka Jana Tomar Darshane Sabar Dravi Bhutamana.
Sri Ramananda Roy continued, there are uncountable brahmanas and other persons here with me. Behold how all of their hearts have melted simply by seeing you.
842. Krishna Hari Nama Suni Sabhara Vadane Sabaranga Pulakita Ashru Nayane.
Just see, I am hearing the holy name, Krishna, Krishna, coming very sweetly from everybody's mouth. Everyone's bodily hairs are standing erect with ecstasy, and tears are flowing from their eyes.
843. Akritye prakritye tomar Ishvara lakshana jivena sambhave ye aprakrita guna.
One can see the symptoms of the Supreme Lord in your bodily appearance and nature. How is it possible for the ordinary living beings, jivas, to possess such transcendental qualities that are found in Krishna alone? So Ramananda Roy is really exposing Mahaprabhu here.
844. Prabhu kahe tumi maha bhagavatottama tomar darshane sabar drava hailamana.
Hearing this, Sriman Mahaprabhu replied, O Ramananda, you are the best even amongst the topmost devotees. Therefore only by your audience, not by mine, has everyone's heart melted. Quoting from the Padma Purana, Sri Prabhupada Siddhanta Thakur reveals to us the qualities of a Mahabhagavat devotee.
Tapadi pancha samskari navejya karma karaka artha panchaka vidvipra mahabhagavata smrita.
According to the path of ritualistic worship, the Uttam or Mahabhagavat is characterized as being a Brahmana who has undergone the 5 kinds of sanskars or purificatory processes such as austerity, which are executed, who has executed the Vaishnava rituals of worship such as deity worship through recital of mantras and through yoga, yajna sacrifice, offering prayers, chanting the Lord's holy names, and marking the body with auspicious signs, who has worshipped the Vaishnavas, and who has understood the Artha Panchaka, the 5 subjects of knowledge. And Jiva Goswami explains this in a footnote. Sri Jiva Goswami explains the 5 subjects as the worshipable Supreme Lord, his supreme abode of Vaikuntha, his assets or Tadiya, the pure devotees, his mantras, and the living entities. So Jiva Goswami is explaining this. In Srimad Bhagavatam 11.2.45, Swayam Bhagavan himself describes the symptoms of the Mahabhagavat.
Sarva bhuteshu yapashyet bhagavat bhavam atmanaha bhutani bhagavat atmanye yesha bhagavatottamaha.
My devotees see me as the soul of all souls within all living entities, and they see all living entities within me. Since they see me in all life forms, they give mercy to all beings. This is the vision of the Mahabhagavat, the pure devotees of the Lord. They will see Krishna in everyone and everybody, and they see Krishna also within themselves. They see Krishna in all beings, in all creation. This is easily understood by reading the Srimad Bhagavatam, especially the Chatu Shloki in the second canto, 9th chapter, verse 33. These verses really illuminate this point very, very clearly.
845 Anyera ki kata ami mayavadi sannyasi amiha tomar sparshe Krishna preme bhasi.
What to speak of others? Although I am a Mayavadi sannyasi, I also am drowning in the ocean of Krishna Prem simply by touching you. Sriman Mahaprabhu is calling himself a Mayavadi sannyasi in order to reveal himself as insignificant and worthy of rejection. It is well known that he received initiation into the 10-syllable Gopal mantra from Ishwara Puripad. Before taking sannyas, Sriman Mahaprabhu very cleverly chanted a Vaishnava mantra into the ear of Srila Keshava Bharati, thus giving him initiation. In this way, he transformed him into a great devotee. Upon receiving those mantras back again from Srila Keshava Bharati, Sriman Mahaprabhu maintained the proper etiquette in regard to accepting a spiritual master. A beautiful pastime. During his manifest pastimes, a Mayavadi sannyasi is a follower of Advaitavad, monism, the school of thought that is opposed to bhakti. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, however, was never a Mayavadi sannyasi in his manifest pastimes. So, this pastime of Mahaprabhu accepting sannyas, when he whispers the mantra into the ear of Keshava Bharati, then Keshava Bharati sells that mantra back to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Just like this dynamic here. Mahaprabhu is the ocean where Ramananda Rai is taking all these jewels, and Ramananda Rai is going to again pour this ocean on the body of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu.
846 Ye jani katina mora hridaya sodite sarvabhauma kahilena tumare milite.
Indeed, in order to purify my very hard heart, which is dry and devoid of rasa, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya had asked me to come and meet you.
847 Ye mata duhe stuti kare duhar gune duhe duhar darshane anandita mane.
In this way, Bhagavan and the devotee praised each other's qualities, and both fell into tremendous bliss to see each other.
848 Hena kale vaidika eka vaishnava brahmana dandavat kari kaila prabhure nimantrana.
At this time, a Brahman Vaishnav, following the Vedic principles, came there. He offered Dandavat Pranam before Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and invited him for prasad.
Read the footnote, 8.
Okay, Sastang Dandavat Pranam are respectful obeisances executed by prostrating 8 limbs of the body, namely the thighs, feet, hands, chest, mind, head, voice, and closed eyes, by falling flat like a stick on the ground. So all of these bodily limbs are flat in a prostrated mood on the ground.
849 Nimantrana manila tare Vaishnava janiya Ramanande kahe Prabhu Ishat hasya.
Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu knew that Brahmana to be a Vaishnava and accepted his invitation. Smiling, he spoke to Sri Ramananda.
850 Tomara mukhe Krishna kata sunite hai mana Punarapi payena Tomara darshana.
Sri Ramananda Roy, I am exceedingly eager to hear from your mouth topics about Sri Krishna. Therefore, I wish to have your darshan again.
851 Raya kahe aila yadi pamara shodite darshana matre shuddha nahe mora dushta chitte.
Upon hearing these words from Sriman Mahaprabhu, Sri Ramananda Rai replied, although you have come to cleanse the heart of this fallen soul, Simply seeing you is not enough to purify my distorted and polluted heart.
852. Dina pancha shatarahi karaha marjana tabe shuddha hoy mora ye dushta mana.
O Lord, please stay for at least 5-7 days and kindly cleanse my contaminated heart. Only if you stay here will the consciousness of this fool become pure.
There is a beautiful poem, Maharaj, by Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami. Dushtamana. Quote that later.
Okay.
853. Yadyapi vicheda duhar sahana na yaya tathapi dandavat kari chalila ramarai.
Although separation from one another was unbearable for both, Sri Ramananda Rai offered his obeisances to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and on his order departed for his royal palace.
854. Prabhu yai se vipra gare bhiksha kaila duyu janara utkantya ashi sandhya haila.
Sriman Mahaprabhu then went to the house of the Brahmana and accepted alms, meaning took prasad there. Both the devotee and Bhagavan were eager within their hearts to meet each other again. Then evening came.
855. Prabhu snana kritya kari achena vashiya ekabritya sangerai milila ashiya.
After finishing his bath and performing his Sandhya, evening Gayatri Mantra meditation, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu sat and chanted Harinam, waiting for Sri Ramananda Rai. Then Ramananda Rai, dressed as a common person and accompanied by one servant, came to meet him. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur says that a sannyasi bathes and chants the appropriate mantras 3 times per day, morning, midday, and evening. Hence, at dusk, according to the injunctions of Shruti, Sri Satchidananda sat down and chanted Harinam after taking bath and chanting the Sandhya mantras, otherwise known as Anik.
856. Namaskara Kaila Rai Prabhu Kaila Alingane Duyu Jane Krishna Kata Kaya Sestane.
Sri Ramananda Rai approached and respectfully prostrated before Mahaprabhu. The Lord arose and embraced him with great prema. They then began to discuss topics of Krishna in a secluded place. So now we're going to come into the topics of discussion. So Mahaprabhu is going to ask, what is the sadhya? What is the ultimate perfection of life? What is the ultimate goal? He wants to squeeze all the juice from Ramananda Rai. So there are 5 propositions by Ramananda Rai before we come to the place of prema. So the devotee should be familiar with these 5 propositions. There's Varnashram dharma, then there's Nishkarma karma, then there's Sharanagati, then there's Gyan Mishra Bhakti, then there's Gyan Sunya Bhakti. These 5. So in our study, in our absorption in this, we can appreciate these 5 topics are going to be discussed before we come to the topic of prema itself. And then we're going to cross over that line into prema itself. So these first 5 topics will be opened out gradually. So the first topic is Varnashram Dharma.
857. Prabhu kahe pada shlok sadhyera nirnaya Rai kahe swadharma charane Vishnu bhakti hoy.
Sriman Mahaprabhu began by saying, O Rai, what is this sadhya, ultimate goal, and sadhan, spiritual practice or method to attain that goal for the living entity? This is the greatest knowledge. Please recite verses from the revealed scriptures as evidence. We must have our authority to back up this, these propositions that Ramananda Rai is going to say. otherwise it's ineffectual. Receiving the order of the Lord, Ramananda Rai replied that the verdict regarding the ultimate goal of life is to perform Vishnu Bhakti, devotional service to Lord Vishnu, by executing one's prescribed duties according to his social position.
858. Varnasrama vata purushena parapuman Vishnuraradhyate panta nanyatattosha karanam.
Lord Vishnu, the Supreme Controller, is worshipped by those who properly execute the system of prescribed duties according to one's varna and ashram, spiritual and social classification. Apart from this, there is no other way to satisfy him. Vishnu Bhakti, devotion to Lord Vishnu. Srila Saraswati Prabhupada says that bhakti is indeed most pleasing and valuable for the human race. Apart from this, all else is undesirable and unsatisfying. Only the soul endowed with bhakti can accept Sri Bhagavan. By the continuous performance of Gyan Mishra Bhakti and Karma Mishra Bhakti, then gradually a special kind of realized knowledge which pertains to the topmost form of bhakti, Swarup Siddha Bhakti, awakens. In Sri Bhagavad Gita, Sri Krishna has said,
Swakarmanatam abhyatcha siddhim vindati manavaha.
1846. Mankind, by the constant performance of his own duty, attains all perfection. This is the beginning. This is the beginning of the path. We first of all have to come to the human platform. We all know very well that Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, he wanted to introduce this Varnashram into the Western world. And he set up farming communities, etc., with this in mind, this idea in mind, to bring the conditioned souls to a human platform by following the 4 principles of spiritual life: no intoxication, meat eating, gambling, illicit sex, etc., and to live an orderly human life under the guidance of the Guru Varga, under the guidance of our worship of the Murti, etc. So he wanted to introduce this into the West, which he has done to a great degree. We have so many temples in the West, we have so much temple worship, Murti worship, we have so many communities in the West that are performing very nice services to the deities principally. So this is already going on by the mercy. In the Western world I'm talking about, of course. Of course in India and Bharatvash, it's already there, but has become covered by the influence of this fallen age. And Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, again, he speaks about that in his little book, Search of the Ultimate Goal of Life. He says that in this first proposition, in the Bhagavad Gita, the personality of Godhead declares that the Varnashram system is created by him, although he is aloof from such a system. Because the Varnashram system is a creation of the personality of Godhead, it is not possible to do away with it. However, the nefarious activities of the people of the age of Kali can jeopardize the Varnashram system. We have purposely used the word jeopardized because the whole system still exists, but in a reflected form. So these are the comments of Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. He writes many words about this Varnashram in his book. It's very beautiful. All forms of life arise from Bhagavan, and this world itself expands from him alone. Even knowledge of this makes a man favorably inclined towards Bhagavan. Supremely pure displic succession, or parampara, of the path of devotional service is sanctioned by Bhagavan, Bodayan, Tanka, Dramida, Guyadev, Karpadi, and down to Baruchi in the displic order. It is stated in the Srimad Bhagavatam 6.3.22.
Bhakti yogo bhagavati tannama grihanadibihi.
Devotional service beginning with the chanting of the holy name of the Lord is the ultimate religious principle for human beings. We spoke about this the other day. This is when the Yamadutas came into the court of Yamaraj, and Yamaraj is speaking this verse, Etavan evalokeshmin pumsam dharma paroshmito bhakti yoge bhagavati tannama granadibi. So Yamaraj himself is speaking this verse. In this verse, the term bhakti yoga alone is capable of conveying the desired meaning. But the word bhagavati has also been used. The special meaning is that an endeavor may be called bhakti yoga only when the limbs of devotion, such as chanting and remembering the holy name, are performed to please Bhagavan, not to give us a feeling of being liberated or to being relieved of our various problems, because this is the result of any of us chanting in our neophyte condition. We immediately experience some bliss and some ecstasy and some relief from the onslaughts of the material energy. But this is not the purpose. The purpose is to please that Supreme Lord. Then it becomes bhakti. Otherwise, it's still on the path of moksha. Nevertheless, the holy name ultimately is going to bring that practitioner to the conclusion of understanding what is bhakti. When we read, I've said before, in this Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu by Srila Rupa Goswami, he begins by talking about, in the first few chapters, the bliss of liberation. He's talking about this because we all come to devotional service to be freed from the onslaught of Maya. We understand this, perhaps, but we become clear on our diving into the subject matters of Srimad Bhagavatam, etc. But then afterwards, after a few chapters, then he talks about the bliss of devotion. It changes a complete dynamic. This devotion to the Lord, wanting to please the Lord. This is why it's very helpful for the householders generally and for the renounced order to worship Thakurji, to have murtis, to offer them your bhoga, your life, basically. You revolve your household around the satisfaction of Krishna in the murti form. So this is very, very helpful for our bhakti. But still, Mahaprabhu is going to dismiss it as being external, and it'll be described. In this verse, the term bhakti yoga alone is capable, did I just read that? Of conveying the desired meaning. But yes, I read all this. But that type of bhakti yoga is capable of I read this, sorry. The special meaning is that an endeavor may be called bhakti yoga only when the limbs of devotion, such as chanting and remembering the holy name, are performed to please Bhagavan. That type of bhakti yoga is capable of bestowing prema bhakti. Prema bhakti. One is unable to apply the name bhakti yoga even to such activities as Shravana and Kirtana when they are performed with intentions other than the desire to please Bhagavan. It is never possible to achieve the fruit of prema bhakti by this. Only after the attainment of prem may it become possible to reach the stage of sneha, man, pranaya, etc. In devotional literatures such as the Srimad Bhagavatam and the Narad Pancharatana, use of the word bhakti exclusively indicates pure Bhagavat bhakti or devotional service to Bhagavan. Therefore, it is extremely clear that the word bhakti only applies to Vishnu Tattva. And the footnote is that Lord Krishna and his incarnations, not to anyone or anything else, not to moksha, not to swaga, not to material attainments. It is only possible to know what to do and what not to do by consulting the scriptures. This is why Sriman Mahaprabhu asked Sri Ramananda Rai to quote evidence from the scriptures. The definition of sadhya, goal, is desired object, abhista vastu. Sadhana, duties pertaining to the soul, is defined as service that is pleasing to Sri Krishna, who is sevya, he who is to be served. Only divine love for Krishna, which is utterly devoid of any desire for one's own happiness, is the true goal of the soul, as per the soul's constitutional nature. So unless the act that, or the propositions that Ramananda Rai is suggesting are pertaining to the soul, Mahaprabhu is going to be rejecting. Varnashram is not directly pertaining to the soul in its immediate consideration. It will purify the conditioned soul to reach his consciousness of the soul's identity. But in and of itself, the Varnashram system itself is not going to directly manifest that. It's an external consideration. Swadam Archana. Following one's prescribed duties, Brahmanas, the priestly class, Kshatriyas, the warrior or managerial class, Vaishyas, the mercantile class, and Shudras, the service class, comprise the 4 Varnas or divisions of society according to one's occupation, and Brahmachari, celibate student life, Grihastha, household life, Vanapras, retired or partial renunciation from household life, and Sannyas, complete renunciation, constitute the 4 spiritual orders or ashrams. When we adhere to the responsibilities ordained by the scriptures for these social and spiritual divisions, we are engaged in the performance of one's prescribed duties. So we should carefully follow. My Gurudev used to say constantly, whatever ashram you're in, if you're married or if you're renounced, wherever you are, if you're Vanaprastha, if you're Brahmin, stay there. Don't try to jump these ashrams. Be happy and peaceful in where you are. Don't be looking quickly to change your ashram. This is not the purpose of life. The ashram actually is an external consideration. Be concerned with the transformation of our hearts in their attraction to serving and pleasing Radha and Krishna more. Only that is the consideration, whether you're in the renounced order or whether you're a grihastha or whether you're a brahmachari. The only consideration is how much is your heart melting in the desire to please Radha and Krishna. There is no other consideration. The ashrams themselves are quite external. Bhaktivinoda Thakur says the same thing to Sannyasi Thakur. I think it's in the 2nd or 3rd chapter of Jayabadama. He's saying the same thing, that this is an external consideration, not the internal focus. By executing the prescribed directives that are suitable for one's social and spiritual status, it is possible to attain qualification to perform devotional service to Lord Vishnu. So it's a process. Swadharma, Archana, cannot be called the sadhan to achieve perfect devotion to Vishnu, which is the goal of human life. Therefore, the words of scripture determine that devotion to Vishnu alone is the true goal. So this is what I just said previously in encapsulated form. Bhagavan Vishnu is pleased with the worship that is performed by executing the duties prescribed for one's social and spiritual status, which are determined by one's conditioned nature. Srimad Bhagavatam lists the respective constituent qualities of each of the 4 divisions. Then there's these verses describing. Want to go through that or leave that? Yeah. We can leave that. Are you going to go? Yeah, yes, okay, go ahead.
Shamo dhamma tapat saucham santosh kshantirarjavam jnanam dayachyutamatvatvam satyam cha brahma lakshanam shauryam viryam dhriti tejaha tyagachatmaya kshama brahmanyata pradajascha rakchacha ksatra lakshanam devaguru achyuta bhaktihi trivarga pariposhanam astikyam udyamo nityam naipunyam vaishya lakshanam shudrasya sannite saucham seva samin amayaya amantra yajno hi asteyam satyam govipra rakshanam.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you. Very nice. So this is from the 7th canto, 11th chapter, verses 21 to 24. This is in the Prahlad Charita. The symptoms of a Brahman are control of the mind, control of the senses, performance of austerities, cleanliness, satisfaction, forgiveness, simplicity, knowledge, compassion, truthfulness, and devotion to Bhagavan. To be powerful in battle, heroic, patient, influential, and charitable, in control of the senses, renounced, forgiving, devoted to the Brahmins, merciful, and always protective of the citizens. These are the symptoms of the Kshatriya. To be ever devoted to the demigods, the spiritual master, and Bhagavan, to always protect the three religious principles, religiosity, dharma, economic development, artha, and sense gratification, kama. To be theistic, to always endeavor for wealth, and to be expert in trade. These are the symptoms of the Vaishyas. To remain submissive to the highest sections of society, the Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, and Vaishyas, to always be very clean, to serve one's master without duplicity, to perform sacrifices without uttering Vedic mantras, to not steal, to always speak the truth, and to protect the cows and Brahmanas. These are the symptoms of the Shudra. So many qualities in each of these ashrams described. In much the same way, there are 4 spiritual positions, or ashrams, namely brahmachari, grihastha, vanaprastha, and sannyas. Every human being should please Bhagavan by executing one's prescribed duties, dharma, according to one's spiritual position. In the Jvala Upanishad, it is stated,
Sa hovecha yajnavalkya brahmacharyam samapya grihi bhavet grihi bhutva vani bhavet vani bhutva pravarjate yadi vetrartha brahmacharya deva pravarjate grihad va vanadev vanadva yata atha punarvarti va vrati va snatako va utsanna gogniko va yadyevra vrajet tadar breva pravrajate.
this is the language of the gods. The Sanskrit language has 55,000 sounds to it. English, for example, has 300 sounds. This is the language of the superiors. So when we hear this language vibrated, it's very purifying for the consciousness. The saintly Janak Maharaj asked the great sage Maharishi Yalvakya, "My Lord, please be merciful and explain the qualification for the position of sannyas and the rules and regulations to be followed by one of that order." Maharishi Yagyavalkya replied, "After completing one's time in the brahmachari ashram as a celibate student, one should accept the grihastha ashram or householder life. Following that, one should accept the vanaprastha ashram, in which one retires from household affairs. And after some time, one should accept the sannyasa ashram, the renounced order of life. If feelings of renunciation arise in someone before entering the grihastha ashram, then one may directly enter the sannyas ashram." So my Gurudev is including all this in his commentary, and Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada is the same. Even though Mahaprabhu is going to reject this varnashram as the first proposition, as being external, still, both of these personalities, my Gurudev and Srila Swami Maharaj, they deliberate on this topic extensively. One should endeavor to please Bhagavan in the prescribed manner. If one deviates from this and instead turns to illicit behavior, then the result will be greatly detrimental, and one will attain a hellish destination. To follow the path of transcendental enlightenment is the foremost responsibility of the living beings. One's acquired nature, close association, and received teachings each have a discernible effect upon one's life. One cannot just whimsically perform his acts if he wants to attain pure devotional service to the Lord. In the present verse, beginning with Varnashramacharya Vata, Sri Ramananda Roy states that the sadhya goal for every living entity is the attainment of loving sentiments for Vishnu, and that the sadhan to achieve that is following the Varnashram system. So this is his first proposition. And we can read this 859, where Mahaprabhu is going to reject this.
Maharaj, just one small point. They are talking about not to steal, and this is the symptom of a Shudra.
Yes.
So if you look at the 10 commandments,
Yes.
thou
Yes.
shalt not steal.
Not shalt steal, yes,
So
yes.
that means it's...
These qualities are very high. Practically, we cannot find a pure Shudra today. And yet some individuals are walking around thinking that they are Brahman, they are Kshatriya, they are Vaishnava, etc. But the whole atmosphere in Kali Yuga doesn't lend itself to the real qualities of any of these ashrams. They're all polluted. They're all corrupt. This is why Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada is saying here very clearly, jeopardized, because the whole system still, but in a reflected form. He says it very clearly there, in a reflected form. So I just want to read the first words of Mahaprabhu in response to this. And then tomorrow we'll begin the commentary on this, which is Mahaprabhu's reaction to it. But just the first verse we'll read today.
859. Prabhu kahe eho bahya age kaha ar Raya kahe Krishne karmarpana sarva sadhya sar.
Sriman Mahaprabhu said, what you have just said is external. Tell me something more than this. This external, age kahe ara. This means external. He'll be saying this for the next 5 propositions. Age means external. Kahe ara.
Bahya is external.
Oh, sorry. Eho bahya, external. And age kaha ara. Go further. Go further. Yes, correct. Sorry. So I baya, external. And age, go further. Sri Ramananda Rai replied, to completely offer the results of one's activities to Sri Krishna is the essence of all perfection. So we would think this path of Nishkarma Karma Yoga, which is what's about to be described, is the essence of all perfection. This is what Ramananda Rai is presenting, but actually there's a reason why it's not the essence entirely. There is more than this. So tomorrow we'll discuss this Nishkarma Karma Yoga and discuss why it's not entirely the essence, or not the highest essence. It's on the path. All of these suggestions, as we've said repeatedly today, are on the path. They're in Kram, but it's not the ultimate reality, which by the amazing fortune of our mercy, rather, of our Guru Varga, we are going to come to the conclusion of the highest fortune. So Ramananda Rai Sangvar Ki Jai. Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare. Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Gaura Hari Bol. Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Gaura Hari Bol, Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Bol. Vansha Kalpa Tarubhyascha, Kripa Sindhu Vyevacha, Patitanam Pavnebhyo, Vaishnavbhyo, Namo Namaha.